The oppressive September heat hit Major Donaldson like a physical force as he stepped off the military transport at March Air Reserve Base in California. After 3 grueling tours with the Army Rangers in some of the most hostile territories across Eastern Europe, he was finally home. His duffel bag felt light compared to the weight of everything he'd seen and done over the past 5 years. Donaldson checked his phone for the first time since landing on U.S. soil. He expected a message from Lily, his wife of 13 years, confirming she was on her way to pick him up. Instead, his stomach dropped as he read, "Don't bother coming, the locks are changed. The kids don't want you, it's over." He stood motionless in the sweltering California heat, fellow soldiers streaming past him with their own homecoming celebrations waiting. The message burned into his retinas as his mind raced through possibilities. Their last video call 4 weeks ago had seemed normal, perhaps. Their conversations had grown increasingly strained over his final tour, but nothing to suggest this. Donaldson's thumbs hovered over his phone screen. A dozen angry responses flashed through his mind. Instead, he typed just 2 words: "As you wish." Anyone who knew Donaldson well would recognize the quiet danger in those words. During his time as a ranger, he'd become known for his calculated precision. When chaos erupted and other men shouted or panicked, Donaldson grew unnervingly calm. "As you wish," was what he said, before executing the most devastating operations with surgical precision. He made a single call. "Morgan and Associates, this is Rebecca Morgan speaking." The voice was crisp, professional. "It's Major Donaldson. I need your services immediately." "I thought you weren't back until next week." "Plans changed. Can you meet today?" "For you? Absolutely. My office, 2 hours." Donaldson hailed a cab, directing it not to the suburban Los Angeles home where his wife and children, Blake, 16, and Emma, 14, supposedly no longer wanted him, but to the downtown office of one of the most feared divorce attorneys in California. As the cab pulled away, he allowed himself one moment of raw emotion, squeezing his eyes shut as the betrayal washed over him. Then, like he'd done countless times in combat, he compartmentalized. This was now a mission, and Major Donaldson never failed a mission. Rebecca Morgan's office spoke of both success and intimidation, all gleaming surfaces and sharp edges. The attorney herself matched her surroundings. Immaculately dressed in a tailored suit, her dark hair pulled into a severe bun, eyes that calculated your worth as soon as you entered. "So," she said, leaning back in her chair after Donaldson explained the situation, "she waited until you were literally on U.S. soil to tell you not to come home. That's cold, even by my standards." "I need to know what I'm dealing with," Donaldson said, "and then I need options." Morgan's smile was all predator. "What exactly did you mean when you texted, 'as you wish'?" "It meant I'm going to respect her wishes to end our marriage, but on my terms." "Good. The weak ones want to salvage what can't be fixed. You're not here to win her back." "No," Donaldson confirmed. "I'm here to win." For the next hour, they constructed the first phase of what Morgan called the nuclear option. By the time he left her office, Donaldson had signed paperwork that put in motion a series of financial and legal maneuvers that would be executed at precisely 9 a.m. the following morning. After securing a hotel room, Donaldson made his second strategic call to his oldest friend, George Becker. They'd grown up together in rural Oregon, enlisted together, though Becker had left the military 6 years ago. "I need surveillance on my house," Donaldson explained, after catching Becker up on the situation. "Need to know who's coming and going." "You think there's someone else?" Becker stated, rather than asked. "I need confirmation and details." "I'm on it, and Donaldson, I'm sorry, brother." By nightfall, his phone began vibrating incessantly. Lily. He let it go to voicemail, then came the text. "What did you do?" "Answer your damn phone." "You can't just disappear like this." At exactly 10:37 p.m., Becker sent a series of photos to Donaldson's phone. They showed a silver Tesla parked in his driveway, a tall man with expensively cut hair exiting the vehicle and being enthusiastically greeted by Lily at the door. The final photo showed them embracing in the doorway, not the greeting of new lovers, but the comfortable intimacy of an established relationship. "His name is Derek Powell," Becker's message read. "Real estate developer. Been in your house 7 times in the past 3 weeks. Kids seem familiar with him." Donaldson set his phone down carefully. The pieces were falling into place. He slept soundly that night, the deep sleep of a man with clarity of purpose. At 9:17 a.m., the next morning, his phone erupted again. This time, it wasn't Lily calling, but her lawyer, a man named Patterson, whose voice climbed several octaves as he ranted. "You have no legal right to do that with her trust fund. 19 missed calls and you pull this. This is extortion. You can't possibly—" Donaldson ended the call and turned to the window, allowing himself a small, cold smile. Phase 1 complete. Donaldson's journey from Oregon farm boy to elite Army Ranger was paved with exceptional discipline and natural tactical brilliance. The youngest of 3 brothers raised by a widowed father, he learned early that survival required strategy. While his brothers relied on brute strength, Donaldson developed patience and precision. He met Lily Crawford during his first leave after Ranger School. She was attending law school at USC, brilliant, ambitious, from a wealthy California family. Their attraction was immediate and consuming. Within 7 months, they were married, her family grudgingly accepting the union, despite their reservations about her choice of a military man. When Blake was born, Donaldson was stateside working as a tactical instructor. Those were good years. Lily built her law career while Donaldson moved up the Ranger ranks. After Emma's birth, the deployments became longer, more dangerous. Each time Donaldson returned, the distance between them had grown. During his second tour, Lily's father died, leaving her a substantial trust fund with Byzantine conditions, one being that her spouse couldn't access it without her express permission. Another specified that if she divorced, the funds would be held in trust until she remarried or turned 55. What Lily didn't know was that Donaldson had spent years studying financial law and structures, a hobby stemming from his tactical mind's obsession with understanding systems. He'd found a loophole in her trust that even her father's expensive lawyers had missed. It involved temporary reassignment of management rights during periods of domicile abandonment by either spouse. By sending that text while he was returning from deployment, she'd inadvertently triggered the clause. Donaldson hadn't touched a penny of her money, but he'd legally frozen the entire trust, preventing any withdrawals or transfers. Now, as he sat in Morgan's office for their follow-up meeting, the attorney slid a folder across her desk. "You were right," she said. "Derek Powell isn't just your wife's lover. They've known each other since before your marriage." He was her ex-boyfriend from law school. Donaldson nodded, unsurprised. The timing, based on credit card records, hotel charges, and restaurant receipts, they reconnected approximately 19 months ago, shortly after you left for your last tour. 19 months. While he was clearing buildings and watching friends die, Lily was rebuilding her life with someone else, someone who'd been waiting in the wings. "And my children?" Donaldson asked, his voice betraying emotion for the first time. Morgan's expression softened marginally. "Powell has been playing daddy. Weekend trips, expensive gifts. Your son seems resistant. His social media suggests he's angry at both adults. Your daughter appears more accepting of the situation." Donaldson absorbed this, his jaw tightening. "What about the house? Has she taken out any new mortgages or loans?" "No, but there's something interesting about the property next door to yours. It was purchased by one of Powell's shell companies 7 months ago. The timing suggests they might be planning to combine the properties." The pieces clicked together in Donaldson's mind. Not just an affair, a complete replacement. Powell was literally moving in next door, preparing to absorb not just Donaldson's family, but his physical space as well. "They're efficient," Donaldson remarked coldly. "Most affairs are impulsive, this one was planned." "Exactly," Morgan agreed. "The good news is they've made mistakes, big ones. Powell transferred $175,000 to Lily 4 months ago, which she used to redecorate your house. That's marital property she altered using funds from her paramour. Also, she's been paying household expenses from your joint account while maintaining this relationship. Donaldson nodded. That's good, but not enough. I need you to find me something that will give me leverage regarding the children. Morgan raised an eyebrow. The courts typically favor mothers. The courts favor stability and safety, Donaldson corrected. Find me something that proves she can provide neither. As he left Morgan's office, Donaldson's phone buzzed with a text from Becker. Got something big. Meet me at the usual place. The usual place was a small diner in Pasadena where they'd often met during leaves. As Donaldson entered, he spotted Becker in a back booth, his posture still military straight despite his civilian clothes. How bad? Donaldson asked, sliding into the booth. Depends on your definition, Becker replied, pushing a small flash drive across the table. Your wife and her boyfriend have been plotting more than just playing house. They're planning to relocate to New Zealand. Property purchases, school inquiries for the kids, everything. When? Next month, right after school starts. The kids don't know yet. Donaldson pocketed the flash drive. How did you get this? Becker's smile was grim. Let's just say Mr. Powell needs better cybersecurity for his cloud accounts. Donaldson nodded, processing this information. His family wasn't just moving on without him. They were planning to disappear to another country. The coldness inside him crystallized into something harder. I need one more thing, Donaldson said. Access to our home. Not to confront them, just to retrieve something that belongs to me. When? Tonight. They're attending a charity gala downtown. The kids will be at Powell's lake house with his housekeeper. Becker studied his friend's face. Donaldson, whatever you're planning is necessary, Donaldson finished for him. Are you with me or not? Their eyes locked in the silent communication, the kind forged in combat. Always, Becker finally said. But remember who you are. Donaldson's smile didn't reach his eyes. That's exactly what I'm counting on them forgetting. The house looked exactly as Donaldson remembered it from the outside. A spacious Mediterranean-style home in an exclusive Los Angeles suburb. Inside, however, everything had changed. Gone were the comfortable leather couches he'd selected, replaced by sleek modern furniture in cool whites and grays. Family photos had been removed, the walls now adorned with abstract art. It was as if Lily had attempted to erase any evidence of their life together. Donaldson moved silently through the transformed space, cataloging the changes with detached precision. In the home office, he found what he was looking for, a hidden wall safe behind a painting. The combination was Blake's birthday, just as he'd left it. Inside was a small, fireproof box containing his grandfather's medals from Korea, documents from his military career, and a sealed envelope. He took only the envelope, leaving the rest untouched. As he turned to leave, he noticed something on Lily's desk. Architectural plans. He photographed them carefully. Detailed renderings for connecting their property with the house next door, creating one massive estate. The plans were dated 15 months ago, 4 months into his last deployment. Before leaving, Donaldson made one last stop at his children's rooms. Blake's remained much as he remembered. Basketball trophies, gaming posters, organized chaos. On his desk was a framed photo that made Donaldson pause. Himself and Blake on a camping trip 4 years ago, both smiling widely. It was the only photo of Donaldson remaining visible in the entire house. Emma's room had transformed completely, now decorated in sophisticated teals and golds that made it look more like a college student's apartment than a 14-year-old's bedroom. On her bulletin board, Donaldson spotted concert tickets, school awards, and a photo of Emma, Lily, and Derek at what appeared to be a beach resort. They looked like a perfect family unit. He left as silently as he'd entered. The house keys he'd used, keys that supposedly no longer worked, placed deliberately on the kitchen counter where Lily would find them. The next morning, Donaldson met with Vincent Harris, a former intelligence officer turned private investigator whom Becker had recommended. "I need everything on Derek Powell," Donaldson explained. "Not just the surface level. I need to know what he's hiding." Harris, a wiry man with penetrating eyes, nodded. "Everyone's hiding something. How deep do you want me to go?" "All the way." While Harris conducted his investigation, Donaldson executed the next phase of his plan. He contacted Blake's basketball coach, arranging to accidentally run into his son after practice. When Blake emerged from the gym, he stopped cold at the sight of his father. "Dad?" The teenager's voice cracked. "Mom said you weren't coming back." "I'm here, son," Donaldson said simply. Blake's face cycled through shock, confusion, and anger. "Where have you been? It's been 5 days since you landed." "I needed to get some things in order first. Your mother made it clear I wasn't welcome at home." Blake looked away. "She said you abandoned us, that you chose the Rangers over us." "Is that why you didn't want to see me?" "I never said that." Blake's head snapped up. "She told us you wanted a clean break, no messy goodbyes." Donaldson kept his expression neutral despite the surge of anger. "I see. Are you and Mom getting divorced?" "It seems that way." Blake kicked at the ground. "Because of Derek?" "Partly." "I hate him," Blake muttered. "He acts like he's doing us all this big favor. Emma buys it, but I don't." They talked for 30 minutes. Donaldson careful not to disparage Lily while still establishing that many of Blake's assumptions were based on lies. When Lily's BMW pulled into the parking lot, Donaldson stood. "I have to go, but Blake, whatever happens between your mother and me, I'm still your father. That doesn't change." As Donaldson walked away, Blake called after him. "Dad, are you just going to let him take everything?" Donaldson turned, his expression unreadable. "No, son, I'm not." Later that evening, Harris delivered his preliminary findings. Derek Powell is legitimate on paper, successful developments, clean record, respected in the community, but there are inconsistencies. 3 former business partners who suddenly sold their shares for pennies on the dollar, a building inspector who changed career paths after approving one of Powell's controversial properties, and most interestingly, a pattern of targeting wealthy married women as investors while their husbands are otherwise occupied. Donaldson leaned forward. "Explain." "He courts women whose husbands are frequently absent. Military, international business, politics. Becomes their friend, confidant, then business advisor. Eventually the husband is gone, permanently, divorce usually, and Powell remains with access to the family's wealth through the woman." "And the move to New Zealand?" Harris's expression darkened. "That's where it gets concerning. Powell has property there, yes, but he also has connections to less savory enterprises. The area where he's purchased land is known for being a haven for those looking to disappear from financial or legal obligations. He's planning to isolate her," Donaldson concluded. "Get her away from family, friends, familiar legal systems." "Possibly. The timeline is aggressive. Property transfer for your house is already in motion, scheduled to close in 4 weeks." Donaldson nodded. That's why she needed the divorce finalized quickly. They're liquidating assets before disappearing. "There's one more thing," Harris added. "The envelope you retrieved from your safe, what was in it?" "Insurance," Donaldson replied. "Something I suspected might be necessary someday." The envelope contained documentation of an agreement Donaldson had made with Lily's father before his death. A promise that in exchange for Donaldson signing a prenuptial agreement limiting his claims to Lily's family money, the older man would establish a separate trust for Donaldson's military earnings to protect them in case of divorce. The agreement had been properly notarized but never filed with the main trust documents. This piece of leverage combined with Harris's findings gave Donaldson what he needed for the next phase. He called Morgan. "I'm ready to make my move," and he said. "Set up a meeting with Lily and her lawyer for tomorrow." They're demanding you unfreeze the trust immediately, Morgan warned. Tell them I'm prepared to discuss terms. Conference room, your office, 2 p.m. And if they refuse? They won't, Donaldson said confidently. Lily's got a timeline to keep. The conference room crackled with tension. Lily sat across from Donaldson, her once familiar face now a mask of cold disdain. Beside her, a silver-haired attorney named Patterson projected cultivated outrage. Morgan, by contrast, appeared relaxed, almost amused. This is harassment and financial abuse, Patterson began. Your client has maliciously interfered with assets that are explicitly excluded from marital property. Morgan smiled. My client has exercised a legitimate legal option triggered by Mrs. Donaldson's own actions. Perhaps if she'd waited until he was actually home before changing the locks and barring him from his residence, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Lily's eyes narrowed. You weren't supposed to be back for another week. It was the first time she'd directly addressed Donaldson. Her voice was tight, controlled. Deployment schedules change, Donaldson replied evenly. But your plans were well underway regardless, weren't they? What plans? Patterson interjected. Donaldson slid a folder across the table. Property purchases in New Zealand, school applications for my children, airline tickets. Color drained from Lily's face as she flipped through the documents. You're planning to take my children out of the country without my knowledge or consent, Donaldson continued. That's parental kidnapping. It's a vacation property, Lily snapped, and you've been absent for most of their lives anyway. Absent serving my country, Donaldson corrected. Not absent by choice. You had choices, Lily's composure cracked. Every reenlistment was a choice. Every special assignment was a choice. You chose the Rangers over us every single time. And you chose Derek Powell long before my last deployment, Donaldson countered. 15 months ago, to be precise, when you commissioned architectural plans to connect our property with his. Patterson cleared his throat, looking uncomfortable. Perhaps we should focus on the immediate issue of the trust fund. I'll unfreeze the trust, Donaldson said. On 2 conditions. Lily's relief was palpable but short-lived. First, the children stay in Los Angeles through the end of the school year with a standard joint custody arrangement. No international relocations without court approval. Patterson nodded. That's reasonable. Second, I want the truth from you, Lily. Not about the affair, about what you told the kids. Lily's jaw tightened. I don't know what you're talking about. You told them I abandoned them, that I didn't want to see them. I protected them from being hurt, Lily retorted. What was I supposed to say? Your father might come home in a body bag, but don't worry. You lied to them, Donaldson said quietly. Blake never said he didn't want to see me. Neither did Emma. That was your manipulation. The room fell silent. Even Patterson looked troubled. I want you to correct the record, Donaldson continued. Tell them the truth. Then we can discuss unfreezing the trust. And if I refuse? Lily challenged. Donaldson slid another document across the table, the agreement with her father. Then this gets filed with the trust administrators. Your father made certain promises to me that supersede your prenuptial protections. Lily's face went white as she read the document. Dad would never... Your father respected service and sacrifice, Donaldson said. He also recognized that you inherited his ruthless streak. This was his insurance policy against exactly this scenario. After 30 seconds, Lily nodded once, sharply. Fine, I'll tell them the truth. But this doesn't change anything, Donaldson. I'm still divorcing you. I wouldn't have it any other way, Donaldson replied coolly. That evening, Donaldson received a text from Blake. Mom told us what really happened. Why didn't you call us yourself? He replied, I needed to be certain I could be part of your lives before making promises. Are you back for good now? Came the response. Yes. No more deployments. A long pause then. Emma's mad at Mom. She's crying in her room. Donaldson's chest tightened. Tell her I'll see you both this weekend. My place? You have a place? I will by Saturday. The next phase was accelerating faster than anticipated. Donaldson needed to secure a residence and establish stability quickly. But first, he needed to neutralize Derek Powell. Harris's deeper investigation had uncovered concerning patterns. Powell's business model involved a sophisticated form of real estate fraud, buying properties through shell companies, inflating their values through cosmetic improvements and manipulated appraisals, then selling them to investment groups that included his romantic partners or their family trust. It's not technically illegal if everyone knows what they're investing in, Harris explained. But Powell obscures critical details. 3 of his previous romantic partners lost millions before realizing what happened. And Lily? She's already invested $1.4 million from her trust in his latest development, the one in New Zealand. The property exists, but the permits, infrastructure, and projected values are all smoke and mirrors. Donaldson processed this information. So his plan is to get her and her money to New Zealand, where U.S. financial regulations don't apply? Exactly. And once there, with no support system, she'd be completely dependent on him. For the first time, concern for Lily flickered through his anger. Despite everything, she was still the mother of his children. She'd betrayed him thoroughly, but perhaps she was being manipulated by someone equally skilled at deception. I need evidence that will stand up in court, Donaldson decided, and I need to move quickly. What are you planning? Harris asked. To give Derek Powell exactly what he wants, Donaldson replied, or at least what he thinks he wants. Derek Powell had built his life on calculated risks and the ability to read people. He prided himself on identifying vulnerabilities and exploiting them with finesse. So when Major Donaldson, the inconvenient husband who was supposed to be dispatched through a quick, clean divorce, requested a private meeting at Powell's downtown office, curiosity overcame caution. Major Donaldson. Powell greeted him with professional cordiality, rising from behind his imposing desk. This is unexpected. I thought it was time we spoke directly, Donaldson said. Man to man. I appreciate that. Powell gestured to a chair, though I'm not sure what there is to discuss. Lily has made her decision. That's precisely why I'm here, Donaldson said, remaining standing, to acknowledge that decision and propose a solution that benefits everyone. Powell's expression revealed nothing, but his posture shifted subtly. I'm listening. You want Lily, you want my house, you want my family, Donaldson stated flatly. I've accepted that. But the current approach, the lawyers, the court battles, will drag on for months, possibly years. Nobody wins. What exactly are you suggesting? A clean break. I sign over my interest in the house. I agree to the divorce terms. I even support your relationship. Donaldson forced the word out. In exchange, I want guaranteed access to my children and a financial settlement that reflects my contributions to the marriage. Powell studied him, searching for the trap. That's surprisingly reasonable. Lily described you as uncompromising. Military service teaches you to recognize unwinnable battles, Donaldson replied, and to strategically reposition. I see. Powell leaned back. And what would this financial settlement entail? $2.5 million. A fraction of what prolonged litigation would cost you. You seem very confident about what litigation would cost me, Powell noted. Donaldson shrugged. I've done my research on everything. Something in his tone made Powell pause. For a brief moment, uncertainty flickered across his face before his confident mask returned. I'll need to discuss this with Lily. Of course. But this offer is time-sensitive. 24 hours. That's not much time for such significant decisions. I thought you were a man who knew the value of moving quickly on opportunities, Donaldson replied. After Donaldson left, Powell immediately called Lily, relaying the conversation. Unknown to either of them, Harris had installed surveillance equipment in Powell's office the previous night with the help of a building maintenance worker who owed Becker a favor. He's desperate, Powell told Lily. This is perfect. We can wrap everything up cleanly and be in New Zealand before winter. It seems too easy, Lily's voice replied through the speaker. Donaldson doesn't give up. He's a soldier, not a businessman. He's out of his depth. You don't know him like I do. He's playing some angle. Even if he is, what can he possibly do? The trust is unfrozen. The house sale is proceeding. We have everything in motion. What about the children? Lily asked. We'll honor the custody arrangement until we're ready to leave. By then, he'll be established in his new life, and the kids will prefer our situation anyway, especially with the private school options in New Zealand. And if he contests the international move? By then, it will be too late. Trust me, Lily. This is what we've been working toward. Everything is falling into place. The recording captured everything. The casual conspiracy to violate custody agreements, the calculated manipulation, the clear intent to defraud through the New Zealand investment scheme. It was exactly what Donaldson needed. The next day, Donaldson received a call from Powell accepting his terms, with a meeting scheduled to sign paperwork the following morning. That evening, he met with Morgan to finalize their countermove. This is thin ice, legally speaking, Morgan warned, reviewing the plan. A judge might view the recording as entrapment. The recording is just insurance, Donaldson assured her. The financial evidence is what matters. The documented pattern of fraud, the misrepresented investments. We just needed Powell to confirm his intentions regarding my children. And you're sure you want to warn Lily? After everything she's done? Donaldson's expression hardened. This isn't about Lily anymore. It's about protecting my children from both of them. The pieces were set. Phase 3 would begin at 9:02 a.m. the next day, exactly when Powell believed he was cementing his victory. That night, Donaldson received an unexpected visitor at his hotel room, Emma. She stood in the hallway, tear-streaked and defiant. Mom doesn't know I'm here, she blurted out. Blake helped me sneak out. Donaldson ushered her inside, his heart hammering. Emma, you can't just... Why didn't you fight for us? She demanded. You just disappeared when you got back. You didn't even try to see us. I was told you didn't want to see me, Donaldson said gently. And you believe that? After everything? Her voice broke. I wrote to you every week. I sent emails when you could get them. I waited for you to come home, and then... nothing. Donaldson knelt before his daughter, seeing for the first time how much she'd grown during his absence. I'm fighting for you now, I promise you that. Mom's selling our house. We're moving away. No, you're not, Donaldson said firmly. Not unless you want to. Emma studied his face. Derek says you can't stop it. He says you signed papers. Derek doesn't know what's coming. What does that mean? Donaldson chose his words carefully. It means that sometimes people aren't who they pretend to be, and sometimes the truth has to come out before people get hurt. Are you going to hurt Derek? Emma's eyes widened. Not physically, Donaldson assured her. But yes, I'm going to stop him from taking what's mine, including my family. Emma nodded slowly. Good, I hate him. He acts nice when Mom's around, but when she's not, he's different. Donaldson's blood ran cold. Different how? He talks to us like we're stupid. Tells Blake he needs to toughen up and stop missing you. Told me I need to adjust to reality because you never really cared about us anyway. Her voice dropped. Last week he grabbed Blake's wrist when Blake argued with him. Left marks. The cold rage Donaldson had been carefully controlling crystallized into something lethal. When did this happen? Tuesday. Blake wouldn't let him in his room and they got into a fight. Does your mother know? Emma shook her head. Blake didn't want to tell her, said it would just make everything worse. Donaldson took a deep breath, recalibrating his plans. I need you to go home now, but tomorrow, things are going to change. I promise you that. After safely returning Emma home with Becker's help to ensure she wasn't detected, Donaldson made one final call to Morgan. We need to accelerate the timeline, he said, and add one more component to our strategy. What's changed? She asked. Everything, Donaldson replied. Powell crossed a line he can't uncross. The Powell Development Group offices occupied the 32nd floor of Los Angeles's premier business tower, all glass, chrome, and calculated intimidation. When Donaldson arrived for their 9 a.m. meeting, Powell was waiting with 2 attorneys and a smug smile. Major Donaldson, he greeted, extending his hand. I appreciate your pragmatism in this matter. Donaldson ignored the outstretched hand. Where's Lily? She should be here. Powell's smile tightened. Lily trusted me to handle the financial aspects. She'll join us for the final signatures. That won't work, Donaldson said calmly. I need all parties present before we proceed. One of Powell's attorneys, a nervous-looking younger man, shifted uncomfortably. Mr. Powell assured us Mrs. Donaldson had approved these terms. Did she approve them in writing? Donaldson asked. I have her power of attorney for business matters, Powell interjected smoothly. This isn't a business matter, Donaldson replied. It's a divorce settlement affecting my children. Either Lily attends or we reconvene when she's available. Powell's jaw tightened momentarily before he forced another smile. Of course, let me call her. As Powell stepped away to make the call, the conference room door opened again. Morgan entered, followed by a stern-looking man in a conservative suit. Major Donaldson, apologies for the delay, Morgan said briskly. Agent Carter was held up in traffic. Agent? Powell snapped up from his phone. Special Agent Marcus Carter, FBI Financial Crimes Division. The man introduced himself, placing his credentials on the table. I'm here as an observer only, at this point. Powell's attorneys exchanged alarmed glances. What is this? Powell demanded, returning to the table. Insurance, Donaldson replied. Is Lily coming? She'll be here in 20 minutes, Powell said, his confident, thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life